Thank you for having me and welcome to my session, How to Build a Business Application with the Power Platform in less than 30 minutes. Before I start with my session, so I will tell you a story, what's all about with my 30 minutes and so. I want to thank our sponsors. Please have a look on what the different providers can do for you and which products you can find. You'll find here sponsors and these ones as well. And maybe you don't know me. I'm Nicole Enders. I'm from Germany, so it seems far away, but nowadays, as most of our events are global events, everybody feels a little bit closer. So I'm really happy to be here on this event. I'm an MVP for Office Apps and Services, especially for Microsoft Teams, but I'm also very active in the business applications area. And in my company, I'm working as a managing consultant for modern workplace and new work. So it's not only a technology topic. I also love the idea how a modern workplace feels for everybody of us. What are the special needs we have? And that's relevant for the session as well. Yeah, and my focus topics, when I think about my projects I'm doing at the moment and I was doing in the past few years, then it's all about social intranet and collaboration. And the main technologies are Microsoft 365, SharePoint, Teams, and the Power Platform. If you want to contact me, maybe you will have a question later on and we don't answer them during this session, then you will find me on Twitter. You also would find me on LinkedIn, but on Twitter I'm a little bit more active. And I have my own blog. So let's stay in contact even after this event. Yeah, and if I think about building business applications, and as I said, I'm working most of the day in Microsoft 365. Maybe you also visited office.com, so the Office portal, during the past few months. And you may have recognized that there is some there are some changes. So for example, Viva Insights here at the top right or bottom right corner is right here. But you also find a lot of other tools. And when I talk to my customers, there's always one important question, because you see all these tools and it seems that there are too many tools. So with which tools should I start? As it was called Office 365 and not Microsoft 365 as nowadays, some of my customers thought that Office 365 is the cloud version of the standard Office applications like Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. And I said, no, it's so much more. Yeah, and then when I talk about what is so much more, then my customers ask, which is the best tool to start with? And I have no answer or the same answer for everybody, because for me, it's all about choosing the right collaboration tools. And for everybody, that can be a little bit different. So I want to present you my personal list. If I choose my collaboration tools, then I would need a solution for working together on a document. Because if I work on a document, then there's always a situation where I need some help. I need some input of one of my colleagues, or two or three of them, or even more. I'm not sure. So in my daily business, I'm writing a lot of documents like documentations, concepts, maybe proposals. And if I want to work together with my colleagues, then there are different options. So think about the most basic option. And this would be, I write a document, I save it on my PC, And when I need some support, then I could write an email and add my document as an email attachment. Do you think that's a great idea? I learned that this is not a good idea, because when you send it only to one person, you may be lucky, but in most of the cases you send it to multiple persons, and maybe they forward this document to other persons. And if you do this, then you will have a real boring job, because you get a lot of answers, and now you have to open each different document version and you have to consolidate it to one final version. It would be so much easier if you would have a central document location and you only send a link to this document. You can do this, so you can store your document in your personal OneDrive, or you can store it in SharePoint. And for me, it's a difference when I know that this is my personal document and it will stay my personal document, then I would store it in OneDrive. If it's more a team sport, so think about proposals, this is not my personal document, then I would store it in SharePoint, where all of my colleagues already have access to. Another area is all about exchanging information. And there are different ways. So think about this context when I want to work together with others on a document. I need to inform the others that I need some help. And I can do this in an ad hoc way. So I can start a video or audio call, or I can write a chat message. And that's my main use case when I use Microsoft Teams. We can also think about spreading company-wide information. So maybe you have an intranet based on SharePoint. Or you say, okay, I'm using Microsoft Teams and I'm using an org-wide team for this. So everybody has access to this team and we can share information from HR or your managing director. So this is a central point of information here for all the corporate-wide area. And that's not so relevant for each company. Even if you are a small startup or so, then you may say that's not relevant for me. But in my company, we are more than 1,000 people, and I don't know everybody personally. And I love that we have a corporate network based on Yammer. So I'm participating in many different communities, and these communities are more focused on different topics. So maybe, or for example, I have to say, we have a community for modern workplace. We have a community for different technologies and so on. And then we can stay in contact and exchange information, even if I don't know this person personally. I can add them to my personal network. Yeah, and as I said, I'm writing proposals, and after a proposal, you would have a project to work on. And when I'm working on a project, then managing tasks is also really relevant for us. For task management, I could use Planner. We will see Planner later on. That's really cool for different use cases around about task management. But in every project, I also learn something new. And so sharing knowledge is also relevant for me. And if I share my knowledge, then I can, again, write documents, but I could also record some short video clips. And that's where Microsoft Stream is really powerful. So you can record short video clips up to 15 minutes and share them with others. Or if you are in a Teams meeting, you can also record your meeting and share this recording later on. And that's really useful if you are, for example, doing workshops and then you record this meeting. And I use this also even if every person is in this meeting, because maybe 10 days later or a month later, I remember that we talked about a special topic, but I don't remember the topic at all or the content at all. And that's where I can go to the recording and watch the sequence where we talked about this special aspect. Yeah, and Microsoft Forms is a cool tool to collect data, and you could, for example, create a short quiz if you want to get an idea if everybody learned the stuff you were talking on. So forms can also be helpful. And last but not least, I'm working in a lot of business processes in my daily business, and it doesn't matter if it's about some HR processes or if I need to do an approval for some projects or maybe a proposal. So supporting business processes is also relevant for me if I want to choose my collaboration tools. And we will see it later on that the Power Platform, which is represented with this logos here, is also quite important for me. In this session today, we will talk about a scenario where we start in Microsoft Teams. Then we will have a look in the SharePoint website, which is behind our team. We will build a Power App with a flow, and we will talk about how to integrate Planner in this scenario. Microsoft Teams, as I said, it's my starting point. I don't want to explain what you can all do with Microsoft Teams and what are the different functions, because most of us are using Teams on a daily basis. And so that would be not so easy to listen to me. I only want to remember that we have different use cases when using Microsoft Teams, and it's, well, I would say, all about collaboration in different aspects. So you can collaborate between different org units. You can create communities. For example, if you are not using Yammer and you say Teams should be the single application I'm using. Yeah, and for project teams, that's clear. But you can also collaborate with external users. So think about when I'm working with a customer, then I want to create a team room, and it's only relevant if the team room is created in my tenant or in the tenant of the customer, because the person who creates the team room defines to which tenant the team belongs and where the data is stored. So it's, I think, when I have a look on my projects, in some cases I created the team rooms, in some other cases the customer decided to do this. It depends how you are dealing with this situation. Yeah, and also Microsoft Teams can be used for the communication part, so phone and video calls, that's clear. And even for events like our event today, we can use Teams as well with different aspects. So you have the Teams meetings, you have the live events, and you have the webinars, for example. But let's go to Tanya. Tanya, I want to introduce you to her. She is one of my colleagues and one of my best friends, and we talk to each other maybe during a coffee break. And in one of our last meetings, she said to me, Nicole, we need a business application. Business application? Okay. Yeah, and I have to explain that Tanya is responsible for creating our invoices. And so that means her work starts when my work ends. I'm working as a consultant. I'm helping our customers maybe to build a new business application or to work with Microsoft Teams. And at the end of each month, I create a service report. And after I've done this, yeah, I need an approval of my customer. But then I send this signed service report to Tanya, and she has to write the invoice. And now Tanya explained to me that it's really boring what she needs to do. So what did she say to me? Nicole, you have no idea. It's so complicated. So in some cases, the people are sending me a link to the service report as you are doing this. So the document is stored in the team room for this project, and I have the link, and I need to open the document and see what was going on in the past months, and then I can write the invoice. In other cases, the people are sending me an email with an email attachment, and that's the signed service report. And in the worst case, somebody is writing me that I have a service report, a printed service report in my personal inbox in the office. And I have to tell you, Tanya is not working in the office every day. So since the past 1.5 years, she's working 2 weeks in the office and 2 weeks in home office. That's a rule, an organizational rule here. Yeah, and now think about that. Tanya gets an email of a consultant, and he says, okay, the signed service report is in a printed version in your personal inbox, and that's the first day of her 2 weeks in home office. Now she has to find a colleague who is in the office, who scans the document, who sends the document to her or stores them at a central document location. And then Tanya has to open the document, find the right values, and write the invoice. Yeah, so I completely understand that Tanya wants to have a business application. And as we were talking to each other, I thought, okay, what would be the best solution? What can I do? Which tools would I use? And then I stopped and I said, Tanya, the world has changed. You are the expert of your business. So what has changed? You can build your own business application because it's time for the makers. It's time for the citizen developers or the creators. There are many words out there at the moment. And as you may have recognized, I have 2 scenes here from Lord of the Rings. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. And when I think about this scene here, it's nearly at the end of the story. But what I really like about this scene is you see the 4 hobbits here. And the hobbits are very small people. And at the beginning of the whole story, you would never have thought that they become the heroes. They are the heroes of the story. And not only of theirs, of everybody. So you see everybody in the background is taking a knee and feels in a special way. And they can't realize what's the situation about. I know that's a little bit more as Tanya will feel, but think about that you can do something which you never think you can do. And that's where the Power Platform plays an important role. So what's about the Power Platform? And that was during my discussion with Tanya, really important. I said to her, you have to learn a few things of the Power Platform. Maybe not everything, because that's too much at the beginning, but you know that there are different tools. And maybe we start with Power Apps and Power Automate. Power Apps to build your own application, maybe a mobile application. Power Automate to create workflows, to automate processes. And maybe we need both of them, so we will see this in our scenario. And there was another issue because Tanya said to me that it's quite boring to open every service report and to find the right information and then to write the invoice with the correct values. And that's where I thought about the AI Builder, because the AI Builder has some cool templates, and one of them is the form processing. We will see this in a few seconds, what's that about, but I thought about a combination of these three components: Power Apps, Power Automate, and AI Builder. And for sure, I need some data connectors. So think about data connectors as the gates to special applications. So if you want to integrate Planner later on, we need a data connector for Planner. If we want to store a document in SharePoint, we need a data connector for SharePoint. And that's for every other tool as well. Yeah, and I want to go into detail with the other applications because this is part of other sessions, I think. So let me explain my demo scenario now. My demo scenario is an easy one, but it's reproducible for other ones. So it starts with me as a consultant or maybe a project manager who creates service reports. Then the customers need to approve the service reports, and there are multiple options. So in some cases, the customer will need a printed version and signs the document. In other cases, they want to sign it maybe via DocuSign or some other tools out there. But at the end, I know that a service report has been approved, and then Tanya can create the invoices. And what's the service report looking like? So a service report will be a PDF document at the end, but before it becomes a PDF, I'm using an Excel template. And as you can see here, at the top right corner, I have the creation date. It seems like an old one, but I can see the report was created on this special date. And then I have a header section starting with contract number. We have, for example, the project name and the project manager here. And the header section ends with the name of the consultant. And after this, I have a details table. So I have to log every step, what I was doing on every day in this project and what was the effort in hours. And at the end, I have a total. And now think about Tanya, as she has to open every document. And in most of the cases, she only needs to know the project number, maybe the contract number and the total. Maybe it can be a little bit easier for her in the future. So what we are doing now, and this is, I would say, a scene which takes 5, maybe 10 minutes. So we are using the AI Builder, and as you can see here, and we will see this in demo environment too, that we go to the Power Apps Studio, and there in the left navigation, we find a menu item called AI Builder with 2 sub-menu items. One is called Build, the other is called Models. And in Build, we see the different options here. You have some, I would say, really good prepared templates at the bottom, maybe for creating business cards. And the other ones are more generic templates, but you see the form processing here. And if I select this, I will get a pop-up. And first of all, I have to name my model. After I've done this, I click on Create. But you can see a little preview, because what you will need is 5 or more documents with the same layout. And it's really important that is the same layout, because think about that you will later on upload 5 documents and each document has a different layout. Then the artificial intelligence has no chance to generate a model that, for example, the creation date is always at the top right corner. So think about 5 documents or more. I would recommend that you start with 5 documents, because we will see it on 2 steps later that you have to go through every document. But if you click now on Create, before uploading your service reports, you have to decide which information is relevant to you. And that's the part where I said, Tanya, that's good that you are working on this, because you need to tell me what you want to collect as data and what you don't want to collect. And if you tell this to me, then you can also do this on your own, because that's quite easy. You have to enter some text here in the input field. You use enter, and then you add the next field and so on. So that's how it looked like as Tanya was making progress. So she decided that she wants to use the project number, the project name. I think she got the whole header section. Yeah, and also the creation date is called report date here for her. And as you can see, currently we are in the tab for fields. There's also a tab called tables preview. And here she can define the details table with the efforts. But the total effort is a field here outside of the table. And after doing this, in the second step, she now has to add documents. And as we can see, there are some supported file types. There are JPEG, PNG, and PDF. That's why we cannot use the Excel sheet itself, because the AI builder, or I have to say the form processing, uses images, and a PDF is used as an image. And you have also some file size restrictions, so it can be maximum 50 MB, but in my case, the service report are not taking such a file size, so that's okay. So when you add those documents, then you have them here in your first collection. And I think at in the standard, they are called default collection. I renamed it, so it's called standard service reports. But I could also add a new collection, and that's where you would need also 5 or more documents of this layout. So maybe you have different service report layouts, and then you would create different collections here. For this moment, I'm going with the easy one with 1 collection, and I click on Analyze. Then it can take a few seconds. And next one, you see on the right side, a slider with the 5 documents. The first one is selected. And after the document slider, you see all the fields listed there, and it would end with the tables. And now you have to mark the fields in your document. You see this in the middle section. So you can click, for example, on the value for the contract number, and then you will get a pop-up and you select, okay, that's the field contract number. If you click on the date at the top right corner, then you will get a pop-up and you select the report date field, and so on. And for the data table, that's the same. So you will get some a dotted border line around about the table. And if you select this, then you will get the pop-up where you say, okay, that's the effort details table. And after doing this, then you have to define the different values for a few rows. You have not to go through every row and say, okay, this is the date, the milestone, description, and so on. But you have to do this for 2 or 3 rows. because otherwise the AI builder would think that you have a table with only one single row, and that can be boring later on in your app. So you do this for all your documents, and that's why I only choose 5 of them. And then you will get a summary. You click on train, and then it takes up 1 minute, 2 minutes to train the model. And now we are back here in the Power Apps Studio, but now in the for the sub-menu item Models. And as you can see here, you see your training documents, you see the selected fields, and you can get the information how your model can be used. But before you can use your model, you need to publish it. Please don't forget this. It's really important. And if you click on publish, it takes a few seconds, and then you see it a little bit different. So you have a use model button. And now you could start creating your first Power App or your first flow in Power Automate. I will show you the option with Power Apps, but let's talk about Power Automate for a moment, because you could create a flow for a SharePoint document library so that every document which is stored in this document library will be analyzed and will get some metadata or will be moved to a different collection, or maybe you want to inform some persons about this new document and say, okay, that's a new service report, Tanya. Let's have a look. That would be all possible. But in our scenario, Tanya is thinking about something else. She wants to create a service scan app. So every consultant and project manager should use this app later on and scan the service report, and then the app is doing the job with collecting the metadata to store the document in SharePoint and maybe to create a task later on in Planner. So that's where I say, let's have a look what's going on there. So I'm here. So, and now, as I said, we start in Microsoft Teams. So Tanya, I, and a lot of our colleagues, we are using Microsoft Teams for our projects. And Tanya said, okay, for service reports, I create a new team room. And in this team room, I'm using the general channel to inform everybody in the company about new organizational stuff and so on. And there's another channel where I want to integrate my app later on. If the colleagues are using this app here, or if they are using the app on their mobile phone, on the tablet, or maybe in a special tab, that's up to them. But I want to provide this option. So here, everybody can ask a question if he has some problems with the app or some ideas what we can do next, then that's fine. And maybe somebody wants to integrate this app also in his project team. He can do this when he goes with the plus sign and selects the Power Apps app right here. She has done this already here, and you see the final version of her app. You also find the app in the Power Apps Studio, and that's where I said, okay, I'm going with this option because then I have a little bit more space. And I want to present you the result before we have a look into the app itself. So I click on Analyze. I select the service report, and the service report will be analyzed now. So the information will be extracted based on the model we built first with the project number and so on. And as you can see here, you also get some information how confident the form processing component is about the recognized values, and that's a lot of 100%. Maybe the creation date, it's not so confident about, but we can check this here, because when I'm the consultant, then I know what was the service report about, and I see, okay, the consultant name is Eve Morning. I have a project with this project number and this project name. I see the creation date of my service report, and I get all the details information and the total. So I can check a little bit before I send this information to Tanya. When I'm fine with this, I say share with the team, because it's not only Tanya who's working on writing invoices. And now I see, okay, the service report has been uploaded, and now my colleagues will create an invoice. Maybe they will get a notification, and maybe after writing the invoices, I will also get some notification. That's up to you, what you implement in your app. To check if everything works fine, I'm going here to the document library. So you see we are here in the service report management website, and this belongs to our team we saw here. And as you see, we have a new document now, and that's a service report from Eve Morning. And you see all the different metadata as the contract number, project name, and so on. So I could scroll a little bit to the right side if I want to. And what's really important, see the contract number. The contract number was not shown in the app, but it was there because it's part of my AI model. And that's why I can send it here to the document library, to the metadata of this special document. And we will see how that's going. So we go to Power Apps. And as you can see here, that would be the starting point, creating a new model. But our model is also already existing. And we can see here, I have two different versions. So I have one demo and one service report. I go with the demo for a moment. And here's the screen we also already saw in the slides. But what you can see here is that this AI model was edited. And it was not published after this. So I can edit the draft if I want to do this. But my apps would work with the published version until I publish it the next time. And as you can see here, we have the same wizard. So when you see that something changes, that you need more or less fields, then you can edit this part. If you have a new layout of your service report, then you can create a new collection here. It's up to you what you want to do. You can tag your documents. I go with the next one here. So it's loading. Yeah, and that's what I said. So maybe you cannot see this so good. I zoom in a little bit. If I hover over the different values, then I see here, okay, I click on Contoso, and then you get this pop-up where you select the field. So you can change the tagging also later on if you did some mistakes, for example. Yeah, you can save and close. That's where you only are saving your draft, or you go up to the model summary and then you publish the new version. Yeah, if you've done this and you're fine with your model, then you will go back to the Power Apps Studio. And what you can do there is to create your app. And for example, this app could look like this. So now we are in the edit mode of our app. And you see here, we have a component, and that's the form processor. And the form processor component can be found in the Insert tab here for AI Builder. And there you find all the different options we saw when creating a new AI model. Form processing is ours at the moment. And then all the stuff which is here on the screen is only some kind of a preview before I send it to my document library. So I have added a few labels, and each of these labels has a custom text property value. And here, scanner, you can see the green border here on the form processor component. Scanner is the name of my form processor. If you are doing this and you don't rename your component, then it would be called form processor 1. And then you have different fields, and these are the fields which are defined by you. And I go with a dot here to show you the different options, because in my case, I selected consultant, but you could also go with the contract number, the customer, decision maker, all the fields which were defined by you. Go back here. For project, I concatenated 2 different fields right here. And we have also a label here for the creation date. Because you may remember this, we had the creation date here at the top right corner. So that's here. And then we have the data table. Data table is also a component we have here to insert. And here I have to define the items. And as you can see, our form processor component has not only a property called fields, it has also a property called tables. And then you find all of your tables here. And in this case, I'm using a model where I didn't name my table the correct way. So it's only called table_0. But I could also go with effort details or whatever I called my table there. And now it's the question, where is the information that I'm using a special AI model? That's here in this component, because there's one property, and you find this here. That's the AI model. And you will find every model here which has been published. That's why it's so important that you publish your model. Otherwise, you won't see it here in this collection. Yeah, and now think about all the apps you already may have. You can add such an AI builder component to every existing app and enhance the functionality right here. And the next step would be that you want to store the document, because you only added the document here, and then you want to save it in SharePoint. And I expand here that we see what's going on when I click on this button. I'm calling upload service report.run, and then I have a lot of parameters. And remember, scanner is our form processor component. There's a concatenate of project number and consultant with .pdf. I'm creating the file name here. Then I have some metadata. And then the creation date, that's transformed in a date value. So I want a real date value. But this is a property we didn't talk about so far. So I have scanner.originalImage, and that's our document. It's a little bit confusing. I have a PDF document, and this property is called original image. Yeah, I can do this because think about that you create a mobile app, and what would you do? You would take a picture of a service report. And the PDF is some kind of an image. So original image seems so correct. So this is the content of your document. And what we are doing here, we have different parameters. We have the .run. We are calling a flow in Power Automate. So let's have a look at Power Automate. And that's the flow. So we lost the spaces in our call here in Power Apps, but it's upload service report. And we want to run it because it has a trigger for Power Apps. We are not doing anything else here. And then we have an action to create a file. and to update the file properties. And you can see it here with the icon. We ask in Power Apps for this information. So we ask for the file name. That was the first parameter. We ask for the contract number, the project name, and so on. So it ends up here with a project number. And we also need the file content. And the file content was not so easy because the value of our original image property was not in the format we need to create a file in SharePoint. So I needed a compose action to transform this value into a binary, and then I could use the output. So Tanya was feeling good about this because it was really easy and I was there to help her. And then I said, okay, and there's nothing you cannot do. So you can add a new step. And you can, for example, search for planner. And maybe you want to create a task in planner, and then you can do this. So you select the planner plan. Maybe you already have one here in your service report team. And then you can create a task. You could also go, if I select here, Teams, and maybe you want to post a message in Teams. You can also do this. You can send an email. So there's are many, many options. So and if we go back here, then there are so many business and team processes to support with an app. Think about your processes. And I have now some kind of a checklist for you. So first of all, take responsibility and be a maker, or a citizen developer or a creator, whatever you feel comfortable with. Then learn to use the tools of the Power Platform. Maybe you start with Power Apps and then you say, okay, I start creating my first AI model. In some other cases, you would say, oh, no, Power Automate is a little bit better for me. So I have some cool ideas what to do there. And you start creating your first flows. But if you do this, think about creating a quick win solution. So what I've shown to you is a small solution. It would take up to 20 minutes to build this, maybe up to 30 minutes if you are not so familiar with this one. But for the first step, that's fine. I know that if you start thinking about improving business processes, that you will get a lot of ideas and that you want to create a big picture. But focus on something small, because then you will be successful. You will be happy about this success. And then you can start with the next step. If you decide to go with a huge and massive solution, then if you fail, you will be very unhappy. And that's not your fault, because there's always something which feels a little bit different or works a little bit different than you think about. And the next one is inspire your colleagues. Build a team. Because if you build a team, then you can build so much cooler solutions, because everybody of you will think a little bit different and have different ideas. So think about this. And last but not least, share your knowledge and talk about what you are doing. So think about events like this one. Everybody of us who is doing some sessions here started like you. And you have to think about that you learn something new and another person doesn't know about this solution or this topic, and would be really happy and thankful if you would share this information. So think about this as well, even in your company, but also outside. We have great communities out there where we can talk about these different topics. And for me, for example, I'm doing this job now for a long time, but I always learn something new on different events. So I've shown you everything I've prepared. thank you very much. As I said, if you want to stay in contact with me, you find me on the different platforms. So please, let's talk about different things. And now I have a look if there are already some questions. I'm really sorry, I couldn't hear you. So it was not a clear signal.
Please, do you hear me well now?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I think my headphones are having troubles, but okay, I am going to repeat the question. And are all the tools you talk about available for all the licenses?
The Power Platform as itself, so Power Apps and Power Automate are included in most of the licenses. So think about E3, for example, or E5. The AI Builder itself, you may have seen the diamond symbol. So that's a premium component and must be licensed explicitly. But I recognize that there are a lot of changes during the past months. So it's really helpful to have a look when you start using this. You can start with a trial version. So you may have recognized a notification bar in my live demo, and you have a 30 days trial. You can extend it if you are not ready to go with, but I think that's really helpful to learn if this is the right tool for you. But after this, then you have to think about how I want to license this, and there are different options. So if you're doing this only for one AI model, then maybe a license for this special AI model can be the right one. If you are working with a lot of AI models, then you would need to think about another version. But yeah, it depends what is the right licensing. That's Microsoft guess how to use and how this is your benefit.
Yeah, I think that's Microsoft. Maybe another like presentation to just solve all the licenses questions, but yeah, I hope that what you said answered the question. So thanks so much, Nicole. That was the only question in your session. So again, really thank you for being here and for all the attendees. Thanks so much again for your questions, for being part of this event. Please go ahead and hit the website so you will see the next sessions. And yeah, I hope for the next year you can be here. Nicole, thanks so much again. I really appreciate it. Just to let you know, and all the attendees, your session is going to be uploaded on YouTube channel, so you can go and see again if you want. So again, thanks so much, Nicole. Have a great day. I don't know if you want to say anything else.
Yes, thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun during the session, and I really hope that we see each other next year. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.